So behind me is a 1954 Cessna 170B. It's one I restored with the help of my father as well back when I was 16 basically. It started when I was 14. It had been sitting derelict at the local airport for the last 20 years, blowing around in storms and been shot at and had animals living in it. And the city kind of wanted to clean up the airport. And they said, hey, let's get rid of all these derelict airplanes. And my father was managing the airport and decided to get in touch with the owner and kind of struck a deal and kind of visited with me and said, hey, you know, if this guy wants to sell it for a good price, are you interested? And Dad and I made a deal that as long as I did all of the work and the labor, that he'd help me out with the purchase and some parts and helping out with the two-man jobs, of course, and then I'd have an airplane to fly around and build my time in hours. It was a low-time airplane really, and it was just too much to pass up, so it turned into a full-on restoration project back to bone stock original. And basically I did a lot of research on pictures, photos, documentation. I got in touch with some people that used to work for Cessna back in the day, and then the real research came along of sourcing, for instance, the interior fabrics and materials and stuff that luckily I had some samples to work from. And the fact that we do have a business that restores Cessna 195s, a lot of that is the same vintage and era stuff, so we were able to use some of that knowledge, but some of the 170 stuff is completely different yet. I was able to find new old stock material that had about ½ an inch of dust on it that luckily was the right stuff. Some things I learned from this project that I hadn't yet learned with doing a lot of the 195 work, it came down to documentation and research. That was something kind of new for me, to really determine which documents to search for, how to look deep into the original brochures. Of course, even more attention to detail and making it just right, trying to mimic vintage looks. You know, they didn't have the super shiny gloss paint back in the 50s. With the newer paints nowadays, I had to go a 50-50 mix on a matte agent added to the paint to dull it down, give it that authentic look. I wanted to really take people back to the 50s as much as I could. So being that I was so young, it was a project that started off strong. And as you'd expect, any 14-year-old going through high school and wanting to do other stuff too, kind of lost a little bit of interest because of the grand scheme of how big this project really became. It was a little bit daunting. But my father was really good at explaining, instead of getting overwhelmed, take one item off of the shelf of need to restore, and you work on that until it's done. And then you wrap it up, you put it on the completed shelf, and just take it step by step. Don't look at the big picture, have a general idea, but break it down and make it simple. So that was probably the hardest feat to overcome. It's the mental aspect that I would say is the hardest for a lot of restorers, is time frame and seeing it through. So up here at the shows, I've had it here for 10 years now. It's hard to believe, but all the people I've met, everyone's always super happy to see it. One, it shows great in modern days, and everyone loves the paint schemes and the design, and it's a beautiful aircraft. It starts the stories, and that's what it's all about up here, the people that really share their adventures and past history with airplanes like this. And that's good. It's good to see youth as well sharing stories that love the vintage airplanes, because we need to continue with the younger generations. All the work paid off really well. I'm super proud of it. It's been a great airplane that not only am I happy to see it, how it turned out, but I like to use it.